Wisdom. It's an incredibly valuable asset. Some would say more precious than gold. It's attractive, appealing, admirable. Conversely, a lack of wisdom is the basis of immaturity, blind spots, and bad decisions. Wisdom. It can be gained over time, but it can't be rushed. But wisdom can be shared. That's precisely what we are here to do right now. Today, we are here to hack wisdom, to distill it, to understand it, and to process it. Why? To get better at life. Welcome to The Main Thing. This is your new 9-minute podcast. I'm your host, Skip Lineberg, and I've set out to interview the wisest people I know. We'll see what we can learn from each one when they're faced with an incredibly difficult, soul-piercing question. Here in this special episode of Wisdom Revisited, we'll find out how each prior guest has applied and perhaps even evolved their wisdom. But first, a bit of background on Kate Reed. Much has changed since Kate first joined us 3 years ago. First and foremost, Kate took the entrepreneurial leap and left her 9-to-5 job to focus on her startup, Wonder and Grow. Today, she focuses full-time on providing coaching and consulting services as a mindfulness guide with multiple certifications. Kate helps groups and individual clients build mindfulness practices and connect with nature to overcome stress, anxiety, and burnout. Most recently, Kate experienced a brain injury, and we'll engage in a very deep, authentic conversation about how that's affected her, how she's coping and recovering, and along the way, we'll have some advice for you and others. Kate Reed, who's a wife and mother of 2 teenage children, joined us from her home in Elkins, West Virginia. Now, here's our Wisdom Revisited conversation with Kate Reed. Enjoy. Kate Reed, welcome back to the Main Thing podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a few years since you've been on, and it's so great to get you back. And this morning, we're going to revisit your wisdom that you shared with us in 2023 and talk about what's been going on with you since then. But thank you for making time to visit with us.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I can't believe it's been 3 years. It's so hard to believe.
Lots happened with you. I know a lot's changed since you shared your Main Thing wisdom with us in February of 2023. Of course, you stepped out of your day job and being a full-time employee into an entrepreneurial pursuit and took the leap into full-time business ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start there for a moment. And what's that journey been like, Kate?
Oh my gosh. So as I was reflecting on this prior to our call, so much came up for me because the career I was in leadership, West Virginia, that lasted 12 years. It's a really long time.
Yeah. That's
so
big chapter in your life story.
Yes. Yeah. So all of my 30s and into my 40s, as I look back at that time, it was such good work. I gave everything I had into that.
Yeah.
And the relationships mattered to me in that work so much. My mentor, my boss, Pam Ferris, she was so influential in my life in so many ways. And I continue to use so many words that she shared with me in my day-to-day life.
Aw.
Lessons I learned from there. But somewhere along the line, it was the day-to-day that really stopped feeling challenging to me, and it didn't feel in alignment anymore.
Yeah.
But it was the connection that kept me there for so long. So it really was. Like the people, I love meeting people. I love talking to other people in West Virginia who have this deep desire to make an impact. So that's super valuable to me. Once I lost that spark of, okay, what I'm doing today in this work, it just didn't feel right. And at that time, I was growing Wonder and Grow at the same time. So that was an 8-year journey up into that point, almost.
That was a side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
While you were full-time employed with we should say, for those who maybe aren't as familiar with you yet, Leadership West Virginia was your full-time job. Go ahead and tell us, just quickly, the mission and what your role was in that mission.
Yeah, it was to grow and engage leaders to create this lifelong passion and inspiration to move West Virginia forward. Mm-hmm. So that was the mission of that organization. And every year there was a class Go ahead.
You were
Sorry.
membership director or marketing
I was
director?
so I started out as alumni director, alumni
Okay.
coordinator,
Okay. So
and
people that had been through that program, which is a year-long program, you were in charge of keeping in touch and being
at
engaged with
first,
them as
yes.
alumni. Okay.
And then that shifted into communications. Um, and so when I left, I was in charge of all the communications around Leadership West Virginia. I was also doing a good bit of training for the cohorts
Yeah.
within that. So and you're familiar with this, but in every cohort, we would do practices around intentional listening and sharing. So I led a lot of that work. And that was really the bridge for me between the work I did with Wonder and Grow and Leadership West
Yeah.
Virginia, was being able to share that resilience and mindfulness in conversation and authenticity.
Sure.
And I love that. So I was doing that when I left Leadership West Virginia.
What was your final day? I'm sure you remember the
Yeah,
date.
it was Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2025 was my last day.
Gosh.
Right
Okay.
after the State of the State reception. So, yeah, yeah, a little over a year ago.
What a journey. I love
Hmm.
how you ramped it up slowly and also how you wrapped up the other position. You honored it by stepping out slowly and intentionally over a very careful, long exit path. Pull the curtain back, take us behind the scenes into your heart.
Hmm.
And what did it take to make that decision to take the leap into being a full-time business owner? Was there some fear there?
Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
understatement. I think I think that's why it took so long because Wonder and Grow had been growing alongside it. Well, it would have been about 7 years at the time. So we started Wonder and Grow in 2018.
Yeah.
So, and I wouldn't even call it a side hustle. It wasn't designed to necessarily be that. It was designed on purpose as a nonprofit to
Mhm.
really bring, at the time when we started it, was to bring youth in connection with nature through very simple ways that we were accustomed to growing up, but then also bring in those mindfulness based practices around that. So I had extensive training in mindful outdoor leadership over the course of 2 years
Yeah.
to do that. But it was really very much purpose driven. So I didn't really think of it as something I would grow into full time when we
Hmm.
started Wonder and Grow. And when I say we, I want to just emphasize with Valerie Hart, my partner in Wonder and Grow.
Yeah, who's also been on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of the, well, wouldn't call it a rupture, but it was almost like a tension started building in me that I couldn't ignore
Okay.
because that work felt so much more meaningful. And as we expanded into more and more work with youth, so many adults were coming to us and saying, "Hey, I need this too. I have
Wow.
this disconnect and I'm not sure how to deal with all this stress in my life. I just want to feel some of that calm again, and I'm not sure how to do that." So we started doing more with adults, and that led to some of the retreats like you had been
Yeah.
with us. But that tension just became so much I couldn't ignore it. And working at Leadership West Virginia, I would be around all different kinds of leaders. And that last year was there, I saw a few leaders that were so extremely heightened and unregulated and burned out. I'm like,
Oh,
I don't want to be part of that hustle where it just leads people to completely destroy their inner
yeah.
world and health. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So that was time. Isn't it interesting how, let's say, when we approach midlife or enter into midlife, that doing meaningful work and having meaning in our lives becomes just so elevated and so important to us. So I came in 2023 to a guided weekend retreat in beautiful Canaan Valley. We went off the grid. We reconnected with nature. We worked on meditation practices, yoga, journaling, nature hikes, guided hikes. We did a mountaintop sundown meditation that I'll never forget. The most gorgeous sunset I've ever seen in a just a wonderful, relaxed state with some great friends. It was a magical.
Yeah.
afternoon, evening, and that whole weekend was so helpful to me because I learned things. I made new friends. I connected with nature. It helped me to recharge and energize for the last phase of a journey with my son's illness. Most listeners have heard me talk about my son's 4.5 year autoimmune illness, which was a big hardship, challenge, major adversity in our family life. And so I had caring for him, my wife and I caring for him. I just became in this constant state of high alert,
Mm.
reacting and responding to his changing conditions and trying to get him well, and just really and taking a lot of that and internalize as parents do, and we internalize when our kids hurt, we hurt. And so all of that culminated into me being very anxious and frazzled, on edge, overreacting. I could go on and on, but you and Valerie, through the retreat and the work we did later, really helped me to work through a lot of that and to come up with mindful practices that really helped me to self-regulate and to heal. I'm so thankful for the impact that you had and what you taught me, and the things that we worked through together truly changed my life. So I'll
Mhm.
be forever grateful
Thank you.
for that. So let's go back to your founder journey, and you've stepped out of leadership West Virginia. You're full-time running and growing Wonder and Grow. What were some surprises that came as you started doing that full time?
So surprises. It's so interesting to me because when I think about the hard stuff, it's logistics, it's building programs, it's finding clients, it's making all those finances work. How do all these pieces fit together?
Ye
And those are hard. I don't want to negate any of that because running a business is just hard logistically.
Yeah.
But really, the biggest surprise for me has been all this inner work that was required of me because I've done a lot of
Okay.
inner work too.
Okay.
But running my own business has led for me. It's really held up a mirror to the way that I operate professionally in a way that employment never did.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect the business to become this profound personal growth journey
Wow.
of looking, okay, so yeah, I know when I feel best is when I have these routines in place, but I also recognize even stepping out of the grind of day to day, 9 to 5, that this desire to work didn't just go away. Like I wasn't like, oh, I have all this space in my calendar to do what I want. That did not happen. I had to open up to processes in a new way and
Yeah.
think about my fears a lot because a lot of that had to do with worthiness of like being in running a business, worthiness of can I do this? Am I an expert? Does
Can,
anyone
can,
even care?
right.
Yeah.
Can we probe into that for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Hmm.
You were talking about staying busy and keeping the same volume of work effort and output that you had when you were in your full-time job. Do you battle the desire to like always be productive and checking boxes and producing work output and staying busy? How does that live within you?
Sure. I would not say that I have this desire to stay busy because I've worked through that
Good.
and I don't. I think it's the opposite of that, of wanting to have more space in my day to day, but realizing also too, I have clients I want to show up for. That's really meaningful to me.
Of
So what
course.
happens is I kind of get lost in that work that I enjoy. So I can easily lose track of time. So I
Yeah.
had to set alarms on my phone. I have to set boundaries around that. Everyone is aware in my house that 6:30 is when I end work regardless,
Okay.
and I do not have my computer open after that. So I've had to set up accountability around that because I get lost in it. That's really
Yeah.
what it is. And it
Okay.
isn't really like a desire to be productive. I can't really say that's what it is
That's
anymore.
good. Yeah.
Um,
I heard you say you worked through that.
mhm.
This kind of touches in or enters into the realm of like hustle culture.
I do want to be financially stable. That's
Sure.
a big motivation that I think about quite often.
Of course.
That's real.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Mhm.
You talked about 6:30 in your house and working from home. It's, the computer goes off. How has your founder journey from February 2025, when you stepped out and full time into this role, how has it changed your family, if at all?
I'm not sure that it changed my family. Granted, it asks a lot of them still. My husband is amazing. I'm going to give a shout out to Bill
Hi,
because,
Bill.
yeah.
I agree 100%. Bill is amazing.
Yeah, and I sit with the image of him every morning. I get up early. He's not a morning person. I make coffee and we sit on the couch together and we drink our coffee, sometimes in silence. Other times I'm kind of yapping because I've been up for longer. And I this morning I shared with him too, gosh, I'm so thankful that you have been so supportive of me and all of this, and not just this business, but just in life. He has really
Yeah.
stepped in. He stepped in during COVID and took care of meals and groceries, and he's really been a partner to me. I've never felt judgment from him about that.
What a blessing.
Yeah,
That's amazing. That's a good partner right there.
yeah. I mean, with my kids, Charlotte, I want my daughter, especially, and my son, of course, I want them to see someone who's working towards something they really want.
Yeah,
So that modeling matters to me. And
absolutely.
I feel like I'm more aware of it now that I am in my own business, because I
Hmm.
don't want to model burnout again. I don't want to be in
Yes.
a place where I'm modeling that, or she sees me putting the value of work before my relationships with her or Kyle, my son. So I think that awareness around my family has definitely increased,
Yeah.
because that was part of the reason I wanted to start a business, was to be able to spend more time with them and have that freedom. So yeah, actually, that is another thing that's affected them. So I've been able to take more time and take the snow days off and go snowboarding, and we've had a lot more flexibility around that, doing some of the things we really love.
As we kind of wrap up on this topic of your founder journey, is there anything else that you wanted to share about it that I didn't ask you about? Is there anything else that completes that story?
Yeah, actually, my relationship with Valerie, I'd love to share a little bit about that,
Yeah, so
how that shifted.
your co-founder.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and I honestly don't remember what I shared from 2023, but Valerie and we started Wonder and Grow as best friends. So we've known each other since 1992. We met at the Girl Scout camp
Yeah.
back when we were in fifth grade. And uh, running a business with your best friend is really difficult. And we didn't realize that until about 2 years ago, when
Okay.
things really started picking up. Genuinely could have been a fracture there, where this tension in business was putting a strain on a relationship. But every single time, and we were even reflecting on this last night, every single time as things evolve and change, we have come out stronger. And that does not happen. I don't think and I hear it all the time. You can't have a business with your best friend. You don't start a business with your family members. But I
Okay.
think what's been different here is we've been willing to put our friendship first every time, because if it meant choosing between the business or friendship, it was always going to be the friendship. And
Oh,
we've had to be
so
honest.
wise. That's such a
Yeah,
wise position to take.
it's been very hard, and we've had to have really uncomfortable conversations we haven't had before.
Yeah.
That's just deepened our relationship because we've been through pretty much everything now.
So on social media, if folks look at your profile, every day you're doing 20 minutes outdoors, whether I want to or not, regardless of the weather. And so you're on like 120 of those days in a row. I think unbroken,
Yeah, unbroken, completely
unbroken.
unbroken since January
Okay.
1st. I don't post
Okay.
every day, but I'm making sure that I'm outside every single day.
I know some days you'll be super bundled up and we can only see your eyes and you're just like out there and it's 2 degrees and here I am 20 minutes. But I know that those are quirky, cool, fun to see. I'm like, what's she doing today? But also I know there's a purpose behind that. And if I'm not mistaken, part of that has to do with an injury that happened.
This happened on December the 9th, 2025. As I just shared, I love snowboarding. It's
Yeah.
something that our family does together, and I really just enjoy it so much. I feel so good in my body when I'm doing it. And I was snowboarding with friends. It was my friend Jess's birthday, and I was out there with Jess and two other friends, and it was later in the day. I was coming down to the end of a run and I just caught an edge And I really don't remember what happened. I still don't. Uh, to hear described to me, my friend Jess watched me cartwheel through the air and hit my head and land face up towards the slope.
Ah,
Like I said, I don't remember it. I remember right before I was going to fall. I don't remember anything else. But I wasn't knocked unconscious. However, I have zero memory of there's a huge gap in my memory from the point I was getting ready to fall till the point we were almost back home in Elkins and I was being forced to go to the hospital to get a CT scan. Yeah, so that's what happened. I had a very, very bad concussion. CT was all good, but I was sent home with very little direction after that.
we talk a lot on this show about mental health and brain health and how we can care for ourselves better and wise practices that can benefit us in life. And so, talking with Kate about this brain injury, this rather severe concussion, I hope can help us learn if either if we're going through it or we have a family member or a friend who is healing from a concussion, how we can relate and support them. So that's to me, Kate, the context for this. What have been some of the symptoms that you've experienced since you were diagnosed with a concussion?
Yeah, sure. Well, after I came home that day, I had a crushing headache.
Oh,
And, this is normal. I had whiplash, so my neck and my shoulder were very sore, and that
mm,
lasted a while. And I went to see a wonderful PT a few days later just to work through some of that. Someone I'm very comfortable with here in our community that's helped me through multiple injuries. And after I saw him, I'd feel good at first, and then I'd get a crushing headache again as soon as I'd go home. And that went on for a while, and it was daily headaches, daily, um, especially looking at my computer screen. I couldn't be on my computer screen very often, if at all. That I couldn't watch TV. It was very uncomfortable and lots of neck pain, and I'd get a lot of dizziness. I started back to exercise too after about 2 weeks, and I'd run, and if I hit a certain pace, I would get really dizzy and nauseous, or I'd have a headache. I went
yeah.
back. I started lifting again, same kind of thing. I was just I fell off balance off the time, lots of brain fog, and also my mood was really off too.
Gosh. Yeah.
Um, and even just how I was experiencing my thoughts and memories weren't organizing how they normally do it. And I can't really explain what that means, but
Okay.
I wasn't finding words
Hmm.
very well. And things I would remember, I was not remembering. And
Yeah.
that was very worrisome and bothersome. And this went on for months. And I really
Yeah.
pushed through that for months before I went back to the doctor.
Oh, Kate. Oh, gosh. So you went back, and what did they have for you in the way of therapies or recovery?
So I went back to my GP initially, and we went through everything and did some labs just to make sure that everything else was all on the up and up. And it was. And she said, well, some thoughts here because yeah, you followed a concussion protocol. I've had two other concussions in my life. And she said, but you really didn't rest? I thought I was doing all the things.
Oh,
I was, because I'm very much a rule follower, very much
yeah.
so. She's like, I want you to take 2 weeks completely off. If you cannot work, do it. Minimal screen time, no exercise other than really gentle walks.
Okay.
That's it. And see if it improves.
How did that feel
Well, at
when you
first,
heard those words? Yeah. How did that land with you?
shock. And I did. I sat with her. I went 2 weeks. Like she misspoke, because I was healthy.
You're like,
In my mind, I'm healthy. I just have
hold
this.
up.
Yeah.
You meant 2 days. Didn't you mean two
Yeah.
days?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. 2 weeks. Um,
So did you do it? Did you follow that
I did. Hmm.
direction?
Yeah, I really did. Yeah, I
What
took it very
month?
seriously.
What month would that have been? Those 2 weeks fell what? April?
No, it would have
March?
been March.
Okay.
March. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was mid-March. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the 20 minutes outdoors, was this part of your recovery?
Part of it was too that it had to be because I I wasn't running, I wasn't snowboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't doing those things that usually are an outlet for my body, and yeah, I
I
needed to
know
slow down.
I know connecting with nature is vital to you,
Mhm.
to your being, like,
It
that
is.
that has to happen, so you couldn't do A, B, C, and D, but you could get outside
Yes.
and just be in nature, even if you whether you were sitting or gentle walk while you healed. That was good for you, I know, not
Yeah, it
only for your
was
brain,
vital.
but for your soul, right?
Yeah, it was vital. It was
Yeah.
vital. Mhm.
So how have you seen yourself change? Are you seeing a recovery slope? Are things coming back and coming up, or are you just coping better?
Yeah, I actually found another physical therapist, who has really helped me in different ways. And it wasn't because I wasn't necessarily getting what I needed where I was before, but I needed a slower pace. I needed some private time because what I was dealing with was really emotional too. And he has been wonderful. And there were some bones that were out of place in the back of my neck and my head that when they were in alignment again, the headaches disappeared. So I haven't had a headache in almost a month-ish.
So happy to hear that.
Yeah, which that relief in itself has made a huge difference in everything. My mood, just how I feel
Mhm.
day to day, how I can work and operate just in my relationships too. That alone, that having that pain go away,
Yeah.
been huge. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
My memory feels like it's mostly back to.
Good, good, good.
Yeah, I do think it's still strange that I don't have any recollection of really what happened that day. And I've just resigned myself to the fact I probably never will.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but that's it's so strange to me that our brain can do that, just block something out completely.
It
Um,
is strange. And
mhm,
the other strange thing about our brain, it's strange in a wonderful way, is how plastic it is that, we've learned, probably most of us heard about neuroplasticity. And the good news there is that the brain will reconnect pathways and it will adapt to bring back these functions that you depend on, like memory recall or balance, right?
yeah. Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. I thought about this a lot actually while I was healing, and I would visualize all those little neurotransmitters trying to reconnect and all those things.
Yeah.
And I think meditation and time outside help me in that healing. No, I have no true evidence of that, but as I'm
Hmm.
feeling now and taking that time to really be able to be in the stillness, even when my head head hurt or I felt foggy, but actually sit with it and just notice what was happening. It also helped me in finding the right care for myself and figure out, okay, it's time to really pay attention to this.
When you went to the second care provider and you said that not only did I need more because the symptoms were persistent, but it also had become very emotional for me. Could you just share? Because again, I want people to understand what the person's going through that might be a family member or a friend who is going down the path that you went down with a brain injury. Why was it emotional, if you can share with us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So it's funny what we end up identifying with as part of us, right? As we grow up and grow into adulthood. One
Tell
of
me
those,
more. Tell
yeah,
me more. Yeah.
one of those things for me has been my memory. My parents would always be like, "Oh my gosh, how do you remember those things?" Valerie, my best friend, she'll be like, "Thank goodness you remember these things because I don't. I'm not going to be able to tell people about my life. It's going to have to be you." And my
Oh,
home, my
part of
husband's
your identity.
it's part of my identity. So
Okay.
having that worry that my memory is never going to be the same, that's what I thought. It became very emotional because
Yeah.
it's part of who I am. Like, Kate has a good
Aw.
memory. And then
Yeah.
I'd go down these paths of thinking about the future and what that could be like if I didn't have that. And that
Hmm.
was really, really hard. It was very tender.
I had a traumatic brain injury at age 19 that has really compromised and reduced my short-term memory. And so I can remember things that happened in my childhood and recent times and all that, but I can't remember something maybe that you told me yesterday, or I can't necessarily without some work remember what I ate for lunch yesterday. My brain just doesn't log those things. And that's, I think, as I've lived with it, it's an adaptation that it's made because it allocates that RAM, that mental processing capability to other more important things. And so for me, one of the things that I bump into with my wife, Lisa, who's amazing, and you know Lisa, and she's just an incredible partner, and I could go on, but sometimes she'll say to me, "Skip, don't you remember?" And it's something that she told me 2 days ago, and she'll start with, "Don't you remember?" And that feels very,
Mm,
um, kind of invasive and aggressive to me because I don't, and it's not that I don't care enough to remember or that it wasn't important to remember, I didn't make the effort, I just that's just not how my brain works. We were kinda working on that,
mm,
and we've been married for 29 years, so we've had some practice, but, it sounds the word I was looking for was accusatory. "Don't you remember?" And so what if I don't? Let's just talk about what we need to talk about and make a decision that we need to make, whether I remember what you said last time or not.
mm.
So that's one thing I would share is to have some grace and
Yeah.
be gentle with the person that's, has a brain injury that they live and compensating around that as they live their daily life.
Mm.
What
Yeah,
would
it's
you recommend, Kate, for a supporter, care provider, a friend?
yeah, I think, the word that keeps coming up for me is to soften too. Um,
Yes.
and when I think of it in those terms, it's moving out of that rigidity of maybe even what routine is for you, because our routine was not the same. And just being open to receiving too that feedback that I'm struggling, and
Yeah.
then how do I move within that and soften without trying to fix anything. I think that's part of it too, because you can't fix it or change it, but to really be there in a way that feels more like service and softer and maybe even a little uncomfortable for you as a caregiver, because that means that something has to shift, either within you and how you think about things or how you operate day to day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great advice. So give them grace, soften. I would add, be an encourager, give them hope, fuel their hope that things are going to come back. Talk about how the brain is plastic and how it adapts and reconnects and forms to be effective again. Don't let them forget and lose sight of that hope.
Yeah, that's so important too. The encouragement.
I really appreciate this conversation that we had, and I'll just go back to fill in the gap with the context of my brain injury that happened when I was 19. I had encephalitis, which is a swelling in the brain and the brainstem that was related to a mosquito bite.
Mm,
And in our part of the country during during the early and mid '80s, there was a really kind of an epidemic of mosquito-borne viruses that caused encephalitis or meningitis.
oh,
So
hmm,
I was ended up being in a coma for 7 days, and last rites were pronounced for me, but for a aggressive care provider, a doctor in Winchester Hospital. You got to remember, this is the mid '80s. This is pre-internet. The doctor couldn't just Google it. What should I do for this poor young man who's in the coma and has encephalitis? He reached out to a researcher at UVA and said, "Are you guys doing anything innovative?" And so there was a new antiviral drug that was not used for this particular condition, but he said, "Give this a try." And it worked, and it saved my
wow,
life. If that doctor didn't go the extra mile to reach out for a newfangled experimental treatment, I might not be sitting here, might not be sitting here talking to you today. So that happened a long time ago, and it doesn't affect me in dramatic ways, but I've learned to adapt. And, other than the short term memory that we talked about, I pretty much have full mental faculties and, you know, high functioning on good days.
mm, yeah. Oh wow, what a journey for you. And
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah. As
yeah.
I'm the other thing I think about as a parent, how would I, we talked about my son's illness and you know that story all too well and how we hurt when our kids hurt. I can't imagine how grueling that was for my parents to have their
Yeah.
son to be in a coma for 7 days and taking shifts bedside around the clock. And
Mm.
hoping and praying and having fears and what might be the worst outcome. But here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are.
Yeah. What a blessing.
Yeah.
Every moment.
Kate, I want to wrap up with an item of business that we do. When we bring back a former guest, we have this thing called Wisdom Revisited. And so what we're going to do is we're going to revisit your main thing, wisdom that you shared with us. When I asked you this question, I said, Kate Reed, what's the main thing you've learned in your lifetime so far? You said, slow down.
Mhm.
That was your main thing, wisdom. As I challenged you and we teased out all the nuance and meaning of that, you said, this is the north on my compass. If I haven't learned anything else, I need to be mindful and always remember to slow down. And so I ask you today, is that still your main thing? And how has that either deepened or how have you maybe changed direction on that?
It still is, very much so. And it's an important reminder to come back to. And when you sent me those notes before, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was it. And it still is it. So that feels right. And the deepening, yes, there's so much deepening. That word, it's interesting. This word soften keeps coming back up for me. It has over the past week. And I think I would add that. I think it's slow down and soften
Okay.
together because of all of this that just happened to me as well. Because I feel like there's all these sharp edges around how we structure or how I've structured my life a lot, even as I'm slowing down. It's like this routine, this way of being, this identity, whatever it is. And this season has really asked me to loosen my grip on that. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's where the softening is too.
Yeah. Go a little deeper on the soften part. Like, I think I know how that plays out in your life, but I'd love to hear you guide us through that second part of your wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think of softening, and this is a learning actually that's come to be with me recently too. I was at a mostly silent eco dharma retreat last week for 5 days, spending 15 hours in silence a day.
Oh, wow.
And part of
Wow.
the instruction when we were on the land was to slow down, of course, to sense, and you know this very well, sense through all of, sight, hearing, smell, sound, all those beautiful things that bring us pleasure, right? All
Touch.
those yes, all of those things. And they're so pleasurable to be with that. But softening doesn't just mean allowing, it also means to feel into the sadness and the grief
Mhm.
a little bit too. In that space for me, and in a lot of these spaces in mindfulness and well-being, it's easy to become the eternal optimist without allowing space for what is coming up that feels like grief or sadness. And that's what I mean by that, because
Okay.
allowing that softness in me too, to grieve the fact that I had, almost, it was over 4 months of recovery for a brain injury. I had to soften and I had to grieve that. And know,
Yeah.
maybe I might not be 100% ever. I don't know.
Your identity might not be going forward,
Right,
Kate, who has the steel trap memory.
right, right. Yeah. And that's just as important. I
Yeah.
really do think that. Hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome. Kate, thank you for coming back and revisiting your wisdom, for sharing about your founder journey, for talking with us about brain injuries and mental health. It's just been so great to reconnect with you. And I appreciate your time, your stories, your insights, all the wisdom that you shared today. Thank
Mm,
you.
thank you. I am so grateful for you and for this, Skip. It means so much to me. My cheeks are hurting from smiling so much being around you. So thank you.
Aw, have a great weekend and so long for now, Kate. That goes by incredibly fast, doesn't it? Time flies when you're hacking wisdom. Thank you for listening to this wisdom conversation. Let's give a big hearty thank you to the crew of the Main Thing podcast. These are the folks who truly keep the wisdom pipeline flowing. Audio engineer Bob Hotchkiss, strategy advisor Andy Malinowski, public relations and partnerships guru Rachel Bell, social media and digital marketing expert Chloe Lineberg, graphic designer Emma Malinowski, and of course our patrons, those generous folks who provide monthly funding support to help underwrite our costs of production. I couldn't do it without you, nor would I want to. Your feedback matters a lot. If you have a question, a suggestion, maybe an idea, or even a nomination of a future show guest, I'd love to hear from you. Email me at info@themainthingpodcast.com. Well, that's a wrap for this show. I'm your host, Skip Lineberg, signing off for now and inviting you to join us again next time for another special delivery of wisdom.